Hello everyone, welcome back to Kalal English. This is English with Soul. I would like to say welcome back to our session today. Today we're going to see a different topic which could go with the previous lesson that we had learned when we talked about tenses, specifically when we talked about the present simple tense. This lesson could have been taught when I prepared that video. Anyways, it's not late. I hope you would find it useful. As you can imagine and remember, we did reported speech or indirect speech in the last two or three lessons. The first one, reported statements. We had seen reported statements, and then after that, reported questions. Okay, we tried to cover reported questions, and the third one on that series was reported orders and commands. So I hope you found those lessons useful or helpful, and hopefully you use them in your day-to-day activities, day-to-day conversation and communication with others, because reporting is part of our life, or passing information of what others say to another person or to a third person is our daily activity or routine. So we use them very often, right? Very often we use reporting questions, reporting statements, reporting orders or commands, okay, in the office, at school, at home, or with our friends and wherever we are. So thank you so much for your attention, for your comments, likes, shares, and subscriptions. Today, as you can see here, we're going to talk about frequency adverbs or adverbs of frequency. Okay, what are adverbs of frequency? How do we use them? When do we use them? And other ideas will be dealt in this lesson. So what are adverbs of frequency? Okay, as you can see here in the definition, adverbs of frequency are words or phrases that describe how often an action happens. Okay, how often an action happens, or tells us the frequency or repetition of a certain action. Okay, so for example, we drink coffee, okay, per day. Okay, how many cups of coffee do you drink a day? And you read a book, okay, you have classes or you have meetings, whatever, wherever you are. Okay, so we have actions or things that we do repeatedly. So when we want to talk about that frequency or repetition of something, we use adverbs of frequency. So generally, the adverbs of frequency answer the question how often. Okay, how often. Okay, so it answers the question how often do you do something. For example, how often do you have your English classes? How often do you drink coffee a day? How often do you do sport per week? Okay, how often do you go to bed early? How often do you go to bed late? Right? How often do you walk, okay, on the streets or in the park, etc. So these are the basic questions that frequency adverbs answer. Okay, frequency adverbs usually answer or try to address these basic questions. So we need to know that adverbs of frequency are words that tells how often we do something. So these the words we use how often, okay, are generally 6 main frequency adverbs. There are 6 main adverbs of frequency that we use in English language. Okay, so these are namely namely the first one, always, okay, always, and then usually, usually or normally, often, sometimes, rarely, and never. So these are the most common frequency adverbs in the English language. So whenever we want to express our repetition of an action or a frequency of something, okay, we use always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, and never. Okay, they all have their own percentages and their own repetition frequency time. Okay, so for example, if one person gets up early 7 days a week, early, like 6 or 6:30, okay, if that person wakes up 6:30 from Monday to Sunday, okay, from Monday through Sunday, so we say this person, okay, throughout the week, he does this activity 7 days. That means 7 out of 7. So which gives us the frequency adverb always. Okay, so we say he always gets up early. He always gets up early. Okay, the opposite of that can be if he always gets up early. That means he never gets up late, right? He never gets up late. So the frequency adverbs, okay, as we spread them on a line, so they straight from 100% to 0%. So when you do something all week, 7 days a week, that is 100%. When you do something, okay, not even once a week, so that is 0%. So that is what we say never, okay, never. So basically, look at the pronouns here. I, we, you, they, he, she, it. Okay, these are the pronouns that we know. And then here we have always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely or seldom. Okay, we use rarely or seldom. We can use them interchangeably. And never. Okay, always is 100%. Always is 100%. That means from Monday up to Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you do something throughout the week, so you use always, which means 100%. Usually is 80%. 80%. Okay? Usually is 80%. So that means we usually can be like out of 7 days, it can be 6 or 5 days. Okay, 6 or 5 days. If you do something for 6 or 5 days a week, you can use usually. And often is between like out of 7 days, between like 4 or 5 days. If you do something, that is often, which is 70%. 70%. So often takes 70%. Sometimes, okay, is 50%. Okay, I sometimes do that. Okay, I sometimes do that. Means it's like 50% of the time, which means 3 to 4 days a week. Okay, and then rarely takes 20%. Okay, if you say or if you do something once or twice a week. Okay, if you do sport once or twice a week, you say or you can say, I rarely do sport. I rarely do sport or physical exercise. So these are important things to know. And the last one is never. Never, which is 0%. Okay, when we say I never get up early or I never get up late, okay, that means you have zero practice on that. Zero practice, which means you never do that. Okay, you never do that activity. So usually, as you can see, I always study English. Okay, I always study English. We usually read my books. We usually read our books. Okay, or they often go for a walk. They often go for a walk. And he, she, it Okay, sometimes, or he sometimes gets up early, or she rarely studies English. She rarely studies English. And it never, okay, it never, for example, if it could be the dog, the dog never, okay, go for a walk. Okay, that's a lazy dog. Okay, the dog never goes for a walk. So these are the repetitions, and it's straight from 100% in always to 0% in never. With this, what we can say is, whenever there is a main verb in a sentence, frequency adverbs comes, the place or the position of the frequency adverb is between the subject and the main verb. I always go for a walk. I sometimes read my books. I usually meet my friends. I often eat lunch in a cafe or restaurant. I rarely drink alcohol. I never smoke cigarette. So these are important things, and the position of frequency adverbs, so the frequency adverbs that we have here, their position is between the main verb and the subject of the sentence, if it is a main verb. But if we have, for example, be verbs, okay, so if we have be verbs, they come between the be verb and the main verb. For example, if you say he is late, okay, he is late. Let's say this person or this student is late 7 days a week, okay, or 5 days of school, five days in per school week or per weekdays. So we say he is always late. Okay. She is never intelligent, or she is never early. Okay, she is never early. He is always late. So this is another position of frequency adverbs. If there is a be verb, they follow the be verb. If there is no be verb, the always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, and never, they come between the subject and the main verb. Now, it's not only the frequency adverbs that we have. Okay, we also have expressions of frequency. Okay, phrases that we call them expressions of frequency, which have similar function, just like the frequency adverbs here. Okay, which both of them are used in mostly with the present simple tense. So expressions of frequency are words or phrases that describe how often something happens, okay, and they are often used with the present simple tense. So expressions of frequency are also used with present simple tense, and they also tells us, the same as the frequency adverbs, they also tells us how often something happens, right? How often something happens. So what are these expressions of frequency? These are the words like once a week, twice a month, 3 times a year, and 4 times a day. Okay? If you have to take medicine 4 times a day, that is frequency or expression of frequency. Okay, for example, how often do you do sport? I do sport 4 times a week. Okay, I do sport 4 times a week. Okay, how often do you take your medicine? I take my medicine once a day. Once a day. Okay, or how often do you have coffee? I have coffee twice a day. You see, these are expressions of frequency. As opposed to the frequency adverbs, the position of expression of frequency or these words is at the end of a sentence. Mostly at the end of a sentence. And the other words like that are we commonly use are the every phrase. Every day, every time, every week, every year, every month, etc. So these are every time, every day, every week, every month, every year. And then the others like at all times, in general, at times, okay? These are also, okay, named or termed as expressions of frequency. Their purpose, their function is the same, the same. These are more of phrases, okay? They are like one or two words together, like once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, every year, every day, every month. But these ones are single words, like always, never, usually, sometimes, often, etc. So, except that in the position between here, the frequency adverbs comes between the subject and the main verb, and here the expressions of frequency comes at the end of a sentence. Okay? At the end of a sentence. I meet my friends once a week. Once a week. Or I meet my friends every week. Okay? Or every weekend. So that sort of thing gives us a very good hint. So now here, let's do one final wrapping exercise. Haile and Hannah, Monday through Sunday. What do they do? Monday for Haile, tennis and running. Tuesday tennis, Wednesday tennis, Thursday tennis and walk, Friday tennis, Saturday tennis and running, Sunday tennis and running. For Hannah, Monday she goes to the gym, Tuesday she goes to the gym and also she does judo. On Wednesday she does judo, and Thursday she goes running. On Friday she goes to the gym and she plays football. On Saturday she goes to the gym and does cycling, and then Sunday she goes walking and she goes running. Okay, so these are the activities for them. Then based on the frequency adverbs, I would like you to complete how often these two people, okay, do their physical exercise. So for example, Haile dash play tennis. Okay, what frequency adverb shall we put in this blank space? Okay, tennis. The word or the activity is tennis. So Monday tennis, Tuesday tennis, Wednesday tennis, Thursday tennis, Friday tennis, Saturday and Sunday. So for Haile, tennis is an all-week activity. He plays tennis 7 days a week. So when something happens every time, okay, every time, 100%, we say Haile always, Haile always play or plays tennis. Haile always plays tennis. And Hannah, when you look at Hannah, the game or the activity is tennis. Does she play tennis, and how often? How often does she play tennis? So when we see her schedule, Hannah doesn't do any tennis. Okay? It's not on her schedule at all. So we say when something is 0% for among the activities, we say never, right? Hannah never plays tennis. She never plays tennis. She never plays tennis. Now, runs, okay, runs in the park, running for Haile. 1, okay, 2, 3, okay, 3 times a week, Haile runs, which is closer to 50%, okay, 50%. So Haile, when it is around that, we say Haile sometimes runs in the park. He sometimes runs in the park. And look at the fourth one, Hannah. Blank goes cycling. Cycling. 1, okay? It's only once throughout the week. Cycling is a one-time activity for her. So We cannot say never because it's not 0%. We have at least 1%, one day. So a little bit greater than 0, the closest one is rarely. So Hannah rarely goes cycling. She rarely goes cycling. Then Haile and football. Do we have any football for Haile? Can you see? No, right? So in the absence of any activity from somebody's schedule, we say, just like Hannah never have tennis schedule, the same is true for Haile. So we say, Haile never plays, he never plays tennis. Haile never plays tennis. And for Hannah, goes to the gym. Okay, Hannah, how many times does she go to the gym? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times a week. Okay, 4 times a week. So which is closer to 70%. Okay, 70%. So we say often. Hannah often goes to the gym. She often goes to the gym. All right, so that is how we should deal with frequency adverbs and other expressions of frequency. In our lesson today, we have learned about frequency adverbs and expressions of frequency. What does that mean? The frequency adverbs answer the questions how often. Okay, how often do you do something? How often do you watch my videos? How often do you learn English? How often do you, try to improve your English language communication? Is it daily? Is it always? Is it never? Is it sometimes? Or do you learn or try to learn something new in English every day? Okay, every week, okay, or once in a day, twice a day, 3 times a day. How often do you do that? So our lesson for today concludes here. Learn about the frequency adverbs. Okay, what's the percentage of each? What does it mean when we say always, when we say usually, often, sometimes, rarely, never? What does that mean? What's the meaning? Here as well, the expressions of frequency are presented here. Whenever you are given an activity list, okay, we need to put them in line and then we count them, compare them with regard to the time given, and then we decide whether to use always, sometimes, never, often, or usually, and rarely. So that is it. I hope you have learned something useful today in our topic for frequency of adverbs. Please don't forget to share, subscribe, and like the video. You will benefit by staying with us, with me, Solomon. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you and have a good day. Goodbye. See you in the next video.